It is a great day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing updates on the Eiffel Tower Dream. What is the message behind this dream? 100%. We know that it was depicting a market crash in this dream. I said that I understood that the tippy top of this Eiffel Tower, the very top of that antenna, represented the SPY, and I understood 667 in that dream, $667. At that point, I began to see a large red arrow fall down the middle of this Eiffel Tower. To hear more details about this dream and its entirety, you have to go back and watch the Eiffel Tower Dream. But for this video, I want to kind of, again, hit on what I have come to understand now about this dream. This large red candle stopped falling, and I saw myself standing under the Eiffel Tower, and it stopped right in my face. So the tip of this arrow, I was there just staring at it. And then I turned and I saw this train, and I saw these people getting off of this train. Now, something that I found out in my research with on the Eiffel Tower, I found out that if you go to visit the Eiffel Tower, there are stairs up to through the first and second floor. When you get to the second floor, you cannot go any higher climbing stairs. You have to take the elevator up to the third floor, and there's some things up there on the third level. For the most part, understanding that you cannot take stairs beyond the second floor. What this did was bring into mind the trading lingo when they say, you know, the market takes the stairs up and the elevator down. And when I thought about this dream and I thought about things along those lines, I really started envisioning myself being in an elevator. When you're in an elevator and it gets to the floor where you're getting off, it falls below that floor slightly, and then it comes back up, and then the doors open. And that reminds me of the movement of this candle. It was falling very, very fast, and then it got to a certain point where it came down, but then it went back up. And then it just kind of stayed there for a moment. And then in the next part of the dream, I looked, and it was even lower now because I'm standing under it, looking at the tip of the arrow. So what I'm gathering from this is that when this market crash takes place, it's going to be the elevator down. And then from there, it's going to be just your stairs. People most likely trying to get in, thinking that this is the bottom, and they're buying in, and it's moving up a little bit, making some upward momentum, maybe. But for the most part, it's going to drop, and it's going to drop very close to the ground or to zero. And the reason why I said that is because I am 5'2", and if the tip of the arrow stopped right over my head, right just above my head, then to me that depicts the fact that the market, when it drops, when this market crash happens, that it's not going to go to zero entirely, but it's going to be very, very close, very, very close. And seeing the people get off of the train, to me, that depicts the fact that many people are going to be caught off guard. They're not going to be prepared for this huge drop. And even those who don't get out of the trade, or whether it's stocks or crypto, until it's too late. It's already at the bottom or where it's going to stop, and now they're getting off. So they're getting off late. Something else that I found out during my research is that there are 3 ways to get to the Eiffel Tower using public transportation. 2 of these ways has to do with trains. And then it goes through, this particular article was talking about, you know, how far your walk would be once you get off of this train, how far your walk would be when you get off of that train. And then there's a bus line. And so it's not a coincidence that in this dream about the Eiffel Tower, I'm seeing people getting off of a train. Along the lines of trains, God has been dealing with me a lot. Along the same lines as far as trains, God has been dealing with me from day one, giving me something that's symbolic of a train, or me seeing trains in a dream. And then here comes this Japan market crash. And then now me seeing a train in this Eiffel Tower dream. And so going back to the very first market crash dream, I saw that huge arrow. And now that I'm thinking about it, could this have been the same arrow? But I saw this huge red arrow falling, and sparks were shooting from the arrow. The arrow was wobbling almost as if it was going to derail. And that's how I saw it in the dream. Like, oh gosh, this thing is about to derail. And so to me, that arrow was symbolic of a train. And then in the Baltimore, Ohio dream, in the dream where I received the August 6th date because of Bernard's birthday, this dream was about me being at a train station. And then in actuality, Baltimore, Ohio is known for its train stations, the history behind where the train stations began as far as passenger trains. And then also, the particular railroad track that is on the railroad that is on the monopoly board, it is the B&O company, the company that is known in Baltimore, Ohio. So, and then we know that the monopoly game is connected to the Great Depression, and then there is a connection with this particular B&O railroad, a stock certificate being purchased only 5 days or a few days before the very first market crash in October 29th, 1929. And so there are so many things from this Baltimore, Ohio dream that was derived with real life events that leads up to the October 29th market crash in 1929. Same thing with the Eiffel Tower. Again, we see a depiction of a market crash, that arrow falling down, people getting off of the train. And then there is a connection to the Eiffel Tower and to the October 1929 market crash date because of the structure. The Eiffel Tower was the tallest building in the world until a certain date in October in 1929, which was only a few days before that very first market crash. So there's something about trains that God is using to depict this coming market crash. I just have to understand why he's using trains. But at the same time, the history in both the Eiffel Tower, the history of this train station of Baltimore, Ohio, all ties in some way as being of an event occurring a few days before that October 29th, 1929 market crash. And so moving forward, something else that I found out in my research is that the Eiffel Tower is actually a trading pattern. I did not know that. It is a trading pattern. You would have to do your research on how it works, but this is what I found. And so I have these pictures posted here, but it is a trading pattern. Now getting to that 667 price that I understood in this dream. A lot of questions that I have, things that may jog your thinking as we, continue to try to understand what this dream means. And my first thought, of course, that I shared in that very first video, the only video that I did about the Eiffel Tower, is that a sign? Is 667 a sign of the time when the market crash will take place? During the time I had this dream, the SPY was at about 540, and this is the SPDR S&P 500 ETF. Don't want it to be confused with the other one that's was $5,000 during that time, if I'm not mistaken. And so, again, my thoughts were, when it reaches 667, then everything will come down. My other thought was 667, I've been trading for a little while, to understand that to move from 540 to 667, that's about a year of trading, a year's time. But God can do anything. And then when we look at what happened when Trump won the presidential election, things began to move. I saw the SPY jump $14 in one day. And then the next day, up another $4 or $5 in the next day. And so it kind of put in perspective, like, well, maybe, okay, God, I see it happen. But at the same time, I have to consider other things. There are other questions that I have. So the first question that I had was, could it be that the SPY hitting 667, I've already said this, will be a sign that everything is going to come down? Second question is, but why was I in Paris? Should I think European conversion? If I'm in Paris coming to the United States and I have $618 when I get to the US and I convert it to US dollars, that will be $667. So is 618 the price that I should be looking for with the SPY, our SPY? That was the first question that I had. Is it about converting dollars to euros because I was in Paris? The third question that I had was, should I look for a European stock that is equivalent to our SPY? And then when I do that, find out how close this stock is to the price of 667. My fourth question was, should I look at 667 as days or weeks? Like before, in my very first market crash stream, I saw $177. And so I was instructed back then to use this as days. And that moved the timeline, the market crash timeline, along to what I've shared before. If you've seen any videos with the market crash timeline, you've seen that 177. And then my fifth question is this dream, this Paris dream, is it depicting another market crash, like God said in the fourth quarter, but this time it's a market crash in Europe? It's a European market crash. And this crash will be so significant that it will cause our markets to crash as well. So those are the questions that I have pertaining to this particular dream. Again, trying to see how all of this is going to finally come together in the end. I have a good understanding of the things that I saw other than the 667. And of course, the bulk of all my questions are about that price. And so I'm continuing to pray about this as it relates to, again, this coming market crash. If there's anything that I've shared in this video that may jog anything as far as understanding, or any other questions that you may get from hearing my questions, something that kind of helps us to put this puzzle piece together as far as the 667, or it could just be that. It could just be 667. When it hits that, then everything comes down. And so we have to continue to be watchful and prayerful about all of these things. Again, I ask all these questions to God because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to understand wrong. So do pray for me that I continue to seek God on the matter, and I don't just guess and just pull stuff out of nowhere. But that is all that I have for this video. God has given much confirmation that this thing is coming, and all we can do is be ready ourselves. The markets are looking really good right now. As I shared in the previous video, there's nothing wrong with taking just a tiny bit off the top of any gains that we have to set those low buy orders. So when the market crash comes, then we'll be set. And it doesn't take a whole lot. You can take $40 and get a lot when it comes down to certain cryptos that are like 4 and 5 zeros under a penny. But again, do whatever God is leading you to do. Invest in whatever God is leading you to invest in, because you can't go wrong when you're doing it God's way. So that is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.